Okay, so let's move along to password management and two-factor authentication. This one seems super basic, but most people miss one very important thing to get right with this. And so inside Google Workspace, we should all know by now that having two-factor authentication switched on our individual account is pretty damn mandatory. Google have made it pretty hard to get by without this being set up. But if for some reason you still don't have this set up, you can always go into your Google account and then into the security menu, and you want to double check and make sure that you've got two-step verification switched on here. Now, once you have that switched on for your own account, you want to also make sure that you've got it switched on for your teams as well, and you want to enforce this as a policy. Now, you can see here in the admin panel, it's in the security menu and then two-step verification. And rather than jumping straight into switching it on to enforce, you would probably want to switch it on and then choose a date, a week or two in the future from now, so that you can give your team time to get compliant and make sure they register. Because if you switch it on right now, it locks them out of their accounts if they haven't enabled it. So if you need a little bit of time to roll this out, educate users, spend some time communicating, hey, we're enforcing two-factor, then you can do that. There's also other things. I don't know if anyone still uses, scanners that scan to email, and you've punched in, a email address with plain text. This will break those kind of things. There's other features inside Google Workspace that are better suited to set up things like printers. It's called SMTP Gateway. So if you're in that, scenario, you would use SMTP Gateway for that. But when we lock this down, it basically locks down any access to our accounts, outside of having this, properly protected with a second factor device. Now, there is one little secret here as well, and that's because of the prevalence, unfortunately, of people now stealing, phone numbers, porting them to a new SIM card once they've got access to your identity. My strong recommendation would be to actually switch to this method here. I don't know why that's not set in this account. Any code except via text or phone call. And so before you do that, you want to ensure that everyone has the Google Authenticator app downloaded, so they're using code-based authentication, or you've rolled out hardware security keys, either via like a YubiKey, which you can plug in, or now, modern Macs and smartphones now have security key functionality built in, which is pretty cool. But this would be my strong recommendation, is that you actually switch off phone call and text message-based authentication as a second factor device, because unfortunately now, it's no longer really safe. It can't be considered safe. And we thought that was only something that happened in America, but it's now happening in Australia as well. And so, yeah, that's an important one if you want to keep things nicely locked down. Remember that when someone comes across a target, and I'm talking about a bad actor, a third-party bad actor, when they come across a target, if they notice that that person is a CEO or executive or some kind of leader in a business, it's pretty easy for them to start snooping around and looking for your personal information online. There are large data breaches which are available on the dark web, and all they need to do is know your name, and then they go, okay, cool, let's look at all the last data breaches of the last 5 years and see what I can find out about this person. And maybe there's a password that person has reused. Maybe they have enough information to call their telco provider and pretend to be them and have their SIM card or number ported across. It's not that hard. Like, we could do that if we weren't busy running an IT company, probably make some money. But obviously we need to protect from this happening. So important that you switch that one down.